Hi, welcome to My Messy Fingers. I'm Charlie. I am going to do a walkthrough with you on a new album that I've just finished for Scrap and Create. They sent me this beautiful collection. It is by Ciao Bella. It is called Morning in Provence. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This collection has a lot of large images, and when I looked at those images, none of them suited what I wanted to see on the front of the album. When you think of a morning time, you're thinking of coffee, tea, a biscuit. You might be out at a farmer's market looking for fresh flowers for the day. So I wanted the front of the album to kind of depict that kind of morning image. So I fussy cut from the fussy cut sheet this gazebo, the bicycle, and I placed them in the back, the bicycle in front of the gazebo. I fussy cut out the bench, and then there was a cart full of beautiful flowers. Fussy cut it out. These came out of the cut apart as well. So thinking of a garden spot where you're looking to buy flowers to take home, I placed these in front of the wagon. This is a card. You might be sitting out in the morning having tea or coffee, reading your mail. When I cut out this bench, there was this spray of lavender came and tucked up underneath this way. Well, I cut it off and I put it up here as a corner accent, and then went back to the fussy cuts and cut out this spray of lavender so that it looked like it was growing up behind the bench. This is on a little bit of pop-ups. These are on some pop-ups. And then this is one of the cutouts, and it does say Morning in Provence. Some fussy cut of butterflies and some gold filigree. Scrap and Create, when they sent me this collection, they sent me a little bag full of brass elements, and in there were two small filigree. I thought I would use them here in the corners. And then here's a bird with a swig, made him look like he was kind of flying up out of the lavender. So that was my image that I wanted to put on the front, and I hope that it pleases you. Here on the side, I used one of the cutout tags, attached the bicycle, and then on the back, I used this beautiful, simple array of color. Now, I did use a ribbon enclosure. It's white satin. I did not think that a lavender or a darker color would look good, so I opted to go with the white. So when you get in here, our left panel, this is some of the big images, and I wanted to try and play with them so that it would carry, again, a theme throughout. I fussy cut this bicycle, so someone's already been to the market. They're arriving at home because there's a little house there in the background. And then I cut this down the middle and then measured inward to get the images here where I wanted them. Now there's a magnet closure, and it's just under this wheel. And I did a cutout over here to hide the magnet. And then you open it up this way. Some beautiful open pages for your photos. And then there's these big square cutouts. I put the lavender essential oils, used a beautiful piece of striped paper. Here's a tuck. This is one of those large images that comes on a 12 by 12, and you generally have two other sheets over here that you can cut out, and then there's a row of embellishments across the bottom. And then this is what I chose to use here for the background, and then I used another large element for a tuck, and then used one of the long cutouts, and then created a tag. Now on this is the weak point. So I taped along here and here so that when you do come in here with a photo, that this is not going to get compromised, and that's why it's glued here to this side versus over here. All right, moving on. So this page had this clock on it, and it also had this image here down. So these were staggered. So I cut them to fit. I did use my die cutting machine and cut the circle out of this, and then mounted it on some thick cardstock, and then recut and glued it so that there was some sturdiness to this clock. And then I mounted it so it's popped up a little bit. One of the little brass elements here in the middle of the clock, one of the tags, I cut it and mounted on cardstock, and there's some pop-ups behind it. So it gives a little bit of depth to this page. And then here, one of the cutouts, we've got a butterfly, and all I did was simply glue it and the antenna down the center so that this could, if you wanted to, try and get it to stay up. It's going to flatten out as soon as I close the book. Over here we have another one of those bookmarks with a tag. And over here we have another tuck that I used one of the big cutouts, the lantern. And then I just left this page alone. And then on this side, they have this beautiful image. This is in fact the image that was next to, it's on the back side of this element here. And then this is a cutout that it came off of a 12 by 12. It was one of the elements off to the left-hand side. And I cut it out, popped it up, and mounted it here. Now I'm using a die to cut my borders. You can use a punch, you can use lace, or you don't have to use anything at all. And now here's another one of those big, large images. Like I said, it's for my eye, it was difficult for me to look at this as being on the front of an album. Somebody else might look at it differently, but that's how I saw it. So I cut it down the middle so that I could then center it here on these two panels. I used a cutout. I put a little, one of those little brass, there's, hiding behind here is a flower pot with some lavender. So I put this here to kind of replace that image. So then you open this up, and we have some beautiful panels here. You can put a photo up here, or you can do your hand journaling. And then we have, this was the back of one of the other big cutouts. And I created a tag for a tuck. And then I used the green paper here to kind of create a different color balance. Two of the big cards for tucks. And here's the other large, I think these are 5 by 5s. And then use this paper, fussy cut these out. There were some additional floral elements across the bottom, but too delicate for me to mess with, so I just simply cut around them. And then again, this was a piece of the front of this. It was this left panel. I chose to use it as a big pocket on the inside. Fussy cut out this item, and it's glued down, and then the butterfly, and then you've got another big pocket here. And then over here, this one was a bit of a challenge. So when you make the album, you do not have to do this. But what I did was I carefully cut out this lantern, and I wanted it to kind of pop up with the lavender sitting behind it. And I inked it and then mounted it on some pop-ups, as well as the butterfly. I cut it out, mounted it on some pop-ups so that it would stick up off the page, and then use one of the brass elements for a butterfly here. And then when you open this up, this is that beautiful sheet that just has a simple, elegant statement, great for putting photos or doing some hand journaling. On the front of the packet, you will see this emblem. It's the Morning in Provence. It's right on the bottom third of the main page. And I cut it out, mounted it, and I've used it as a pocket. And then we have this beautiful piece here. And then on the back side, again, I'm using the striped paper. I use a cutout for a pocket. And then this image is with this page, and I just simply cut it to fit over here. And then in the cutouts, there's this beautiful little tea set. It's a pop-up, and this is a pop-up. And then this is a pop-up, and I'm using the matching papers. And again, this was a leftover cutout, and I used it to make a statement here for this big pocket. And again, I'm using the die as an embellishment. And this is another one of those large images that it was really hard to figure out what to do with. Down across the bottom here, there was a bicycle, and it had a basket full of lavender. And it was a toss-up to either cut this off here and show the bicycle, or use the window, and this could just be a spray of lavender underneath the window. So that's how I elected to use it. Now, these two, this piece is actually over here. So I had cut down the side, and then I took that piece and I'm using it here on this right-hand side panel. Then when you open it up, I've got this beautiful purple background, and then again, a lot of the cutouts I used for making pop-ups, as well as over here. Now we have a double waterfall. When we got to this point, there was a lot of extras because I'm using 12 by 12 sheets. If you're using 8 by 8, you will not have enough paper scraps left over. So please think about buying an extra pad of either the backgrounds or the core design so that you've got enough to do this in an 8 by 8 album. But I had plenty of scraps left over that I was able to actually cover both sides of the waterfalls. These measure 5 by 3. They all have a 1/2 inch score line so that they can fold over. So these ended up measuring 5.5 inches, scoring it at 1/2, and then 3 inches. And then I cut images to display here on the front. And then I went in and cut some, these are 1/2 inch gussets that we've got here. So I cut some 3/8 inch strips, and I covered in the hinge here so that those weren't big old white things hanging out there. Now you've still got plenty of room here to put a 5 by 7, a 4 by 6, or additional photos of smaller sizes, or journal. Tell the story. We forget about the people involved, the dates, the times, who they are as time progresses. So be sure to tell your story. This was the last page. All I had left when I got to this point were 2 sheets of paper. This one, and then one that had, oops, upside down. One that was this display. So you have the spray on the top, you have the spray on the side, and then there was the jar here on the bottom right-hand corner. I looked at those 3 elements. There's not much I can do with 1 sheet of paper. So what I opted to do was I cut out the jar, and I'm using it as a tuck. Now, there are some additional floral elements here across the bottom. I did not want to mess with them, so I just simply cut around the jar. Now, when I put this on here, because I wanted it to be a nice tuck, I didn't want any of the integrity to the jar to be jeopardized, so I taped along here. This was the last square item I had, so I created a pocket out of it, using, again, some of the die to accent it. And then this is one of the last circle elements. I just simply inked it, mounted it on a back of cardstock, and it's just glued in place. And then I had a couple of the brass elements left over, so I put a butterfly here, and I put the teapot here to go with this beautiful tea set. So that is your album. That is the finished item. Let me know what you think, And I really appreciate you playing along, and I really appreciate Scrap and Create, again, trusting me with my creativity to create an album. I hope you like it, and I'll see you on the next one.